Hello and welcome to the Brick News, our weekly show on all things brick building, where we talk about set updates and announcements from all the major brands, MOCs of the week, and with few reading recommendations as well. Information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet. And this is where we're going to go. And we will start with the brand BlueBrixx over here from good old Europe. First, we have an announcement. The Medieval Street is getting another extension, 109.111. 3,450 pieces. This is going to be a BlueBrixx special, so no back separation, no paper instructions. It's kind of the mock, similar to mock flavor of the BlueBrixx lineup. So you'd basically get a brown box with all the pieces and you get a digital instruction. Pretty cool, actually. It's one of my favorites lineups of BlueBrixx. Medieval Street is, like I said before, is the third set, 108.068 and 108.069, the bakery and the print shop we had previously. It's kind of as the name suggests, and you can see this on the images right here for those of you who watch this on a video platform like YouTube and Spotify or TikTok. And what you can see here is that this is, like the name suggests, it's a medieval city series, which is quite cool, right? Because most medieval lineups and most sets out there, most marks are kind of castle or maybe like something in the woods kind of stuff. But this is actually a medieval city, which of course in the Dark Ages over here in Europe was quite important. So here we go. This is the largest set by far of the new series. It has a slightly different modularity system compared to the other two. The basically you have to remove an entire wall and then you have access to the inside modules. While with the other two sets, the modules were integrated with certain parts of the wall, so that you had to plug out the entire module, including the wall. So this time you have to remove the wall first, and then you have access to the modules. There's a ton of stuff in there, a lot of internal details in the set. It's quite a lot of stuff. I mean, look at the amount of armory and weapons and boxes and barrels and stuff. So that's quite extensive. What I really like about this one as well is the color scheme. This white and dark red color scheme, I imagine, is looking to be quite beautiful. And here you see right now in the current picture, you see all three sets together. By the way, for those of you who listen to this on a pure audio feed, you can of course always check out the SetDB site with all the images as well. I will provide all the links to all the sets I talk about, including all the MOCs and all the reading recommendations. Everything is in the podcast show notes, so you can check this out yourself as well. Anyhow, we're moving on to another announcement. Fall of the Berlin Wall 1989, 109.016. I think this had quite a lot of historical significance in 1989, right, with the ending of the Cold War. Obviously, for us, by us, I mean us Germans, this is especially important moment of our history. Our national holiday is actually 3rd of October, so the reunification of Germany, like of the best thing that happened to us in the last century after all this mess that we made. But anyhow, BlueBrixx has created a set for this. This has 961 pieces, 109.016. Like I said, it's part of the ModBrixx line, which has a similar concept to the BlueBrixx special line. It's just ModBrixx is a company that BlueBrixx acquired a couple of years ago, and they are now integrating all their stuff into their own lineup. Anyhow, 961 pieces on this one, and then they have a Castle Chapel, 109.012. Quite a nice and rather beautiful, a little tiny chapel. It has only 539 pieces, which looks quite small, but I think it's up to scale for minifigures. It's just a small chapel. I don't know how it is in other parts of the world, but at least over here in Germany, we have a lot of these, especially in the southern Germany, like in the Alps region. You see these things a lot, like in the Catholic regions of Germany, these tiny small chapels somewhere on a mountain or in the woods or in the forest. So yeah, I think there is some metallic gold in there, which is quite nice. They have the stained glass windows, so it's a lot of stuff actually packed into this tiny thing. But yeah, actually, it may look weird from the scale perspective to minifigures, but I have actually seen such small and tiny chapels So I think it's quite authentic. With that, we're moving on to 108644. This is now in availability. Has been announced a couple of months ago. The car transport wagons, for you train enthusiasts. This may be the thing. 722 pieces. I did report on this one. Just an update, now available for 35 euros, 4.8 cents a piece. As always, you know my story. Please keep in mind, especially for North Americans, over here in Europe, that always includes value-add tax. It does not include the price that I mentioned with European retailers. Shipping, which in Europe most of the times is kind of for free, depending on how much you buy. I think BlueBrixx gives shipping for free, starting from $200. Obviously, if you buy from BlueBrixx from outside of Europe, you're an entirely different game, right, with customs and everything. Anyhow, let's move on to another availability, the railroad station accessoires, 108631, and I have actually no idea if this is the correct way to pronounce this. Is this actually a French word originally? I don't know. Accessoires is how we would pronounce it in Germany. But here you go, a couple of things that, drive around on your railroad station, wagons and vending machines and stuff. So if you have a railroad station going on and you need to decorate it, this may be for you. 433 pieces. I think I did report on this one as well. Now available for 18 euros, 4.1 cents a piece. What is also available is the race buggy Blueburn 107952, now available for 50 euros, 5.2 cents a piece. I still do not know who is making this set for BlueBrixx. As an FYI, BlueBrixx Pro sets, sometimes these are commissioned products that BlueBrixx is basically, usually they give this to Xingbao or the company that is behind Xingbao, and they make these sets for them. Sometimes it's also kind of a rebrand. They have done this with Xingyu in the past, like aka Happy Build. So I'm actually not sure what exactly this is, because usually BlueBrixx is not really doing Technic sets on their own with BlueBrixx Pro. Usually these are like rebrands from some other Chinese manufacturer, but in this case I couldn't figure it out yet. But if you have more information on this one, please let me know. For the time being, I assume, because this is the default for BlueBrixx Pro, that this is manufactured by Xingbao, but I actually don't know. Anyhow, 968 pieces, $50, 5.2 cents a piece, which are... Now we're coming to the steampunk sets, and these are actually, I'm pretty sure, BlueBrixx original designs, because, you see this with the minifigures and everything. These are BlueBrixx's own minifigures. First, we have the 108651, the minifigure pack. I did talk about this one as well. Now available for 12 euros. Not too shabby for 4 minifigures, 198 pieces with prints included, ton of metallic pieces included. So you have like 3 small builds. Micro builds in quotes, however, they are on minifigure scale, and then you have 4 minifigures. Usually BlueBrixx is never packing with BlueBrixx Pro any stickers. Everything that you see here should be pet printed. And actually Xingbao, the company that is making these, is doing a pretty good job when it comes to pet printing. Then we're moving on to the Steampunk Haley Cap. 108349, 508 pieces, 4 minifigures, 25 euros, 4.9 cents a piece. Same thing, a couple of builds, minifigures, like a small handy steampunk set. Should of course work quite well with all the steampunk stuff that, MOC is doing nowadays, Funhole, Fantasy, all of these companies do a ton of steampunk. It's all usually Victorian steampunk, so not American Wild West, in quotes, steampunk. However, if you're into the original Jules Verne, etc. Victorian thing, then this may be for you. 108350 is the steampunk monowheel. Similar size to the previous set, 508 pieces, 4 minifigures, 25 euros. With that, moving on to Cobi, and here just, again, a quick update. It's always a bit problematic because, with this English channel, I have an audience around the world, but just as an FYI, I did talk about this in my German show as well. Cobi Iojima 1945 is now available over here in Europe with first retailers. However, that does not mean I can precisely predict when this is going to be available. For instance, in North America, I may guess that some Americans are interested in this one. 2059, of course, those of you who are not exactly aware what this set is all about, I think you can see the original black and white picture on the back side of Cobi's box. And I think if you see this picture, you know exactly what Cobi is going for with this set, because it's, I guess, one of the most famous pictures of Second World War, for sure, of the Pacific War, I would guess. However, for those of you who are not even interested in recreating this exact scene, this may also be interesting. This set as kind of, in quotes, a battle pack, right? You have Second World War US Marines, 6 of them in one package. It has only 87 pieces, so I guess having a flag is also quite handy. So this may also be for you if you're into kind of building dioramas with around the Pacific War. Then I guess this thing may be like the ultimate battle pack. Over here in Europe, we have availabilities around $18 nowadays. It is also still in pre-order even over here in Europe with certain retailers, but some have it already. You can also pre-order this one, for instance, in North America from BlueBrixx for $25 US. With that, moving on to Eikee, that is a new brand that I've added to the set DB. And here they also have a new set. A V8 engine, 15001 is this from this manufacturer. As far as I know, this company is getting their sets manufactured by G-Star, so that is the pieces that you can expect in the box. Again, I've built it myself, but this is the information that I currently have. As always, if you have an update here or a correction for me, one good way to correct setter-based data is on every set page. There is a link down below. This works also on mobile. It's called Missing or Wrong Data. Just click this button and then you have a form where you can actually add or change data. This does not work for the piece manufacturer. However, if you have an information here, so for instance, if you have built this set and based on the numbers, you can identify, no, this is not G-Star, this is, I don't know, Kunlong, Xingbao, GoBrixx, whatever. Just drop me an email. Actually, there's an email in the form as well, support@merlinstein.de or merlinsbricks.de or kai@merlinsbricks.com or support@merlinsbricks.com. Anything at merlinsbricks.com is going to reach my desk. So please drop me an email, maybe with a picture even of the parts. That would be highly appreciated so I can update this data. With that, coming back to the engine. So there's a ton of these engines nowadays. Available. I don't know what is going on with that. Mould King has like a ton of these engines nowadays. However, I would say this one has a slightly different angle because it's not so much Technic based. It can be motorized, so it does work. You have a battery box here down below. Actually, that is exactly what I will use now this for myself. There is electronics in there, so you can actually run it, but it's still very detailed, relatively compact, and system brick based mostly, so not so much Technic based, I would say, compared to the Mould King ones. However, it does have 2,347 pieces. It is roughly 8 by 11 by 10 inches, so it is rather compact for this amount of pieces, but I think all the stuff, all the parts went into creating as accurate and as many details as possible. You can pre-order this one, or you can actually buy this one starting in Asia for around starting from $70 US. Here also my typical disclaimer for every week on prices. When I do mention prices from Chinese retailers, please keep in mind with customs, taxes, and shipping, your mileage may vary greatly. There are huge differences here. Usually the prices that the ZTB is picking is, if it can calculate it, the price for Central Europe, because, this is where I'm located. But take this more like a sample, in quotes. You have to check this out. And this is also shipping is different there. These Chinese retailers call it shipping, but of course it includes usually taxes as well, because they have to take care of that. So that's the reason why you have sometimes very huge differences. And also why this is so high compared to, because usually you are used to like shipping like, I don't know, $5, $10, and here it can easily be like 30, 40, $50. So don't, like I said, you have to, usually all these shops offer this very quickly. You put the set in a shopping basket, and then usually, maybe sometimes even upfront, this thing is calculating shipping and everything for you as well. Anyhow, let's move on to Free Tribe. Also a new brand, I think, that I added. And here I have the Juliet Balcony. So this is a design by Fanpesi. As far as I can tell, this is legit, i.e. Free Tribe has a collaboration with Fanpesi. If that is not the case, again, please drop me an email if you have information on this. It's sometimes a bit hard to predict, but I think this one is okay. 36002. I think they announced a collaboration with Fanpesi. Obviously, not for every set I'm checking with the original designer. Nevertheless, I have linked here Fanpace's social media outlets as well as the original mock design from Rubrickable. This thing from Free Tribe has 3,800 pieces. As far as I can tell, Free Tribe is a part of the Kunlong company. They have a ton of brands, right? Like Zegao is part of that, Baka, Linus, I think, as well. So this company has like so many Chinese manufacturers. They have like a ton of brands. I've never really understood why. I've talked about this many times. I think we, from a like Western perspective, have simply to accept it and try to understand the confusion. I think the important part is at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's putting this in the box. What matters is like what the pieces are from, right? For those of you who are like interested in piece quality, etc. So 100%, almost 100% sure all of the pieces in this set are made by Kunlong. Anyhow, you can pre-order or buy this thing for around $130 US, 3.4 cents a piece, not too shabby. The original design, Juliet Balcony by Fanpace, is of course amazing. So I think I did even talk about this mock in my Mocks of the Week show. Then another brand update, not a new brand per se, but I did talk about this in the past, that Fano is currently working on an entire rebranding, and they basically they are switching from Funhole to Lumibricks. I mean, obviously Funhole is kind of I mean, you know, it means whole fun, but obviously, you know, if you're a meme, you could basically have a different understanding of what Funhole could be. So I think that is the main reason why they've decided to move forward and change the entire brand to Lumibricks. So this is something that I've not yet entirely reflected on the Sotheby, because Funhole themselves, or Lumibricks I should now rather say, is currently in the transition as well. I think they have migrated the entire social media presence. They're currently migrating their website. They are migrating the sets as well. So that's why I want to talk about Bamboo House. I have talked about this set before, but this is actually the first set, as you can see, that has Lumibricks on the box. Also means that the SKU, so the number is changing, or the number scheme, from F90 to L90 for Lumibricks. However, in the Sotheby it's still Funhole. The simple reason is if I would switch now to Lumibricks, a lot of folks wouldn't understand and, you know, wouldn't know like what to search for, because Funhole is just a brand they know. So as soon as I have a better feeling, maybe when they have launched 2 or 3 sets, maybe I'm also thinking about introducing some, because that is actually the first time since I'm doing this that I had an entire brand rebranding to handle. So I may also do something like, okay, Lumibricks, formerly known as Funhole, put this as like a subline or something like that. I'm not really sure yet how I will handle it. However, Funhole for the time being in Sotheby, but I will of course cover also all the now Lumibricks branded sets in here as well. With that, moving on to Lego. Here available now is the Keys Haring set. Actually, the NASA Boeing set is also available. However, this is like, I did talk about this last week, and I think it released the same day. So no reason to update this. As 31216 is, of course, a bit more interesting, I do believe, because this is also a retail set. So at least over in Europe, it's not like this in every region of the world, but at least in Europe, as soon as a Lego set goes into regular retail, discounts will come immediately. So it's quite common that you usually go with a Lego set. You can assume that when it releases, it will be 25% below MSRP, and this goes usually over time more in the direction of 30, sometimes even 40%, depending on the series. So just that is the reason why I want to talk about this, because of course we have now these prices, but this is more or less a European thing. For everybody else, I guess you more or less have to pay MSRP, because this is what Lego is trying to I don't know why it's different in Europe, but this is the way it is. Anyhow, now available, Keys Haring 31216. Quite interesting. I think Lego is not really believing that this thing is going to be the big seller. You can always tell, at least in my opinion, by how many of their own brand ambassadors are getting these sets for review presentation. So they have given out this set to only, and at least I think in Europe, they gave it to very, very few YouTube channels. Mostly they gave it to a few written outlets, and that is also, as always, in Setibi, of course. I will try to link all the reviews, also, of course, of the LEGO ambassadors. So Brothers Brick and New Elementary are here the two the ones that received the set already by LEGO. 31216 now available. They also announced a new set going to be released June 1st. This is an interesting one. It's called the City Tower 60473. As far as I can tell, this is kind of a like, let's celebrate LEGO City. It's a wild mishmash of various LEGO City lines. This is interesting because it is still LEGO City. It is in a blue box. It is recommended age 8 and above. So it's still a kid set. However, it's marketed. The marketing of LEGO, if you look at the marketing pictures, are still mostly focused on small kids like LEGO City. However, I do believe such a set is more for the adult audience, like folks who, I don't know, have been growing up with LEGO and now want kind of a, like maybe one-stop shop, in quotes, one-stop set to have it all as a one-time display piece. That's what I think this thing is all about. It's not so much about, I'm pretty sure kids are more interested in the individual sets and not these entire mishmash. But I may be wrong here. Anyhow, 60473, it's going to be available June 1st. And LEGO is listing this one for $210. Over here in Europe, it's 200 euros. So it's one of the very few sets actually where we do not have parity and euro is lower than US dollar. Usually when we don't have parity between euro and US dollar, it's the other way around. But here you go. LEGO City. With that, we're moving on to lots. So these are two lines actually. I will just go briefly through the individual sets. But first we have from lots, and please keep in mind all the sets I'm talking about is mini blocks. So that is, for those of you who are not aware, there are two other brick sizes that I have in the database. So I do not cover these large baby blocks like what LEGO is calling Duplo, which also is made by some other companies like Mega, for instance. I do not cover these. I guess it's not really my audience, but I do cover Mini and Diamond. So Diamond, also known as Nanoblocks. Nanoblocks, however, is a brand. That's why usually every other manufacturer is calling it Diamond. These are like extremely tiny blocks that also are not up to scale to regular bricks. So they have an entirely different shape. I guess the main reason is the studs need to be a lot bigger compared to the rest of the bricks, simply because it's so small and you still want to be able, to have your clutch power. Mini bricks, however, or mini blocks are basically to scale for regular bricks. So they are basically on the lower end what Duplo is compared to regular Lego bricks on the high end, if you will, right? Size-wise or scale-wise. So they're just shrunken down regular bricks, and in theory they are compatible to regular bricks. So the same way again as you can combine regular bricks with Duplo. I hope I made this clear. Anyhow, just as a quick note on this one. However, Lots has, there's a ton of new sets in the database. And first they have these kind of images that you can, these gallery pictures, brick built with a certain 3D design. All of them include a panda. I don't know if this is based on any kind of pop culture reference concerning the panda or just a panda. I mean, it's a Chinese company, so that makes a ton of sense. And here we have first autumn camping, then we have cherry blossoms in spring, we have persimmon rouilly, and we have good luck lotus. All of these sets have slightly around 650 to 750 pieces and gonna cost you $27 US, and then you have 4 small stores, and these are really small. Again, they are mini blocks. By the way, lots call this micro, but I think it's the same size. And they are a lot smaller, like 150 pieces, gonna cost you around $9 US. And these are really, really small, like 2 by 2 by 1.5 inches. So this is really, really tiny. I think this also is the magic and the beauty of these micro blocks, because it basically means, you don't need, especially if you don't have a lot of space, but you still love to build. I mean, one option, that's actually the option I'm going for. I'm basically selling 95% of all my sets that I've built. I only keep a very, very small number because I just don't have the space, and of course I build a lot. But another way to handle this is to buy these smaller bricks, because you need a lot less space and can still have, half the size, twice the fun. I think it's something that Sheldon once said. Anyhow, let's move on to Mould King. Here we have first a 911 pullback car and a 15063. So it's not called a Porsche because Mould King usually does not go with a license. Not only usually, I think they have never acquired a license by a car manufacturer. What are they also doing, which in general I have no problem with, you don't need a license from a car manufacturer. These things are driving around the street, so as long as you, don't conflict with any trademarks, you can do whatever you want. But what Mould King is doing all the time, and personally, I'm sorry to say that, for me this feels a bit childish, is they're putting all the time stickers on these sets with slight variations of the trademark. In this case, they don't call it a Porsche, but a Borsche. I don't know. I don't know if that is something you are excited about. Hey, I have this model and it's called a Borsche. How funny is that? Some people might think this is funny. I don't know. Anyhow, it's a sticker because Mould King usually never pad prints, with very, very few exceptions. So you can attach it and call it a Borsche or not. Including, by the way, the license plate. Mould King is very often putting their own set SKUs or numbers on the license plate. Of course, you don't have to use it. What is important is this is a pullback car. It has 824 pieces. Of course, it is like an old, I guess, 911 Turbo. And you can buy this one for around 38, starting from $38 over in China, 4.6 cents a piece. And then they have what they call the all-terrain trucks, 17038. I guess this is a Mercedes Unimog, 2002 pieces. This is remote controlled with electrics. And I think it has quite a few functions. It's not a small set. It has only, in quotes, only 2,000 pieces, but it's 8 by 14 by 21 inches. So this thing is not small. And like I said, it comes with a little bit of remote control. However, or not remote control, it comes with a motor. I'm actually not sure like how many functions you actually have that you can run by the motor. As far as I can tell, it's only for the crane module, while the rest, like for instance steering and driving and everything, is still a manual process. That's at least my guess at this point in time. With that, moving on to the ATV firefighting vehicle 23003. So this looks like, okay, this is a tiny ATV, but this thing is huge. It is 9 by 9 by 16 inches. It has 2,100 pieces. It comes with electrics for you to be able to steer. And as you can see, there's one servo and 3 regular motors in this as well. As always with Mould King nowadays, they come both with a manual remote control as well as a smartphone app. And here we go. With that, we're moving on to something a lot bigger. The Demolition Machine 17062, 4,195 pieces. Comes with a ton of electronics, pneumatics, etc. I will come to that in a second. This thing is 15 by 22 by 27 inches. So this is not small. Or for those of you in the metric system, which is the better one, by the way, it is 40 by 56 by 70 centimeters. Gonna cost you around $280 US, which of course, I mean, let's be honest, Lego would ask for like 600 for this set. So this is a ton of stuff that you get. Of course, as always with Mould King, you get everything, I guess, with BlueBrixx pieces, which are pretty good. However, they have more large power, and especially with Technic sets, if you want to put it apart, it's possible. Definitely, I've done this many times, but it's a lot more work. Especially, it's harder to do if you don't want to break anything. So there's a good chance that you break a few Technic pins along the way if you want to take it apart. But next to that, there's pretty amazing stuff. So I think still it's a pretty good price because look, next to all the BlueBrixx pieces, what is in here? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 regular motors. You have 4 servo motors, 2 battery boxes, of course, a smartphone app as well. And because it's pneumatic, you have like 1, 6, 8, 10 pneumatic cylinders. So there's a ton of functionality in there and a lot of stuff to explore. You can drive around this thing and, like I said, use pneumatics to move the crane itself. So I guess for Technic enthusiasts, this is quite the thing. I also had another similar thing. So let's not talk about. No, we can talk about this in original order. Next thing is the Firebird 10029. So this is a system-built vehicle. It's a design by Firas Abuyaba, very well known, I guess, in the car mock designer community. But he has a collaboration with Mould King for quite a while. So a ton of Mould King cars are available from his designs, and this thing has 1,557 pieces, and it starts for around $57 over in China. Firebird, of course, very well known, but again, Mould King is making sure that they are not getting into trouble with any trademark out there. I guess everything that you see here that is kind of Firebird related, including on the bonnet or on the hood, is a sticker. So of course you could do with or without depending on your desire. With that, we're moving on to the M24 Chaffee, and I have no idea if this is the right way to pronounce this. Actually, I don't even know what this word exactly means. Anyhow, 2043, of course, medium sized tank from very well known from Second World War. It has been manufactured. But between 1943 and 1945, they made almost 5,000 things of these bad boys. And I think it was also adopted for quite a while after the war by many NATO nations. I think we had multiple of these. So Cobi has made a couple of these in the past. I think the latest one from Cobi is the 2457, my apologies, which is quite an old set. I actually don't even know how old it is. So this thing is a lot bigger, and it is remote controlled. So quick word on that. So what Mould King is usually doing, you can see this right now in this pictures. There's kind of they do this with all their tanks. They have a lot of these actually. So you have like a big block in the center, and with this block has like two functions. You can basically drive the tank, including steering, of course, for the two individual tracks. And you can also rotate the turret. That's exactly it. It's quite a robust system because it's all done in one module. So this is not really a Technic set. It's more like a system set, but it's wrapped around this RC model. Very similar to what Kada is doing sometimes with their smaller electric vehicles. Quite a cool thing, actually. I mean, I've never driven one of these Mould King tanks, but I had a couple of these Kada sets. And it's kind of a best of both worlds, by means it feels like an RC car. It's very robust to drive, very responsive. You don't have this problem that, the motors have to move a ton of Technic stuff. So it feels like almost like an RC car, but at the same time, you have, all these system, a brick build system around it. You have the building fun, and it looks, of course, quite cool. Anyhow, this is what I expect. It should work. I mean, if you look at 932 pieces, I guess from the size perspective, it's 5 by 7 by 10 inches. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit too big for the larger Cobi tanks, but I think it should work to a certain degree with the larger scale Cobi tanks, right? Not 1% sure, but for sure this thing could be a lot of fun because you can drive around with it. The other next set is another clock. So Mould King has done multiple of these. This is a 10160. So this thing, if you look at it, it feels rather small, but I mean, the moment you start to look on the pictures, and you start counting studs or lift arm lengths in quotes, you figure out, okay, this thing is huge. It's actually 18 by 20 by 8 inches. So that's quite a clock. It has 3,675 pieces, and it has complete electronics. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of Technic stuff, right? It's built, it has an interesting design for sure, with a lot of Technic in there, a lot of lift arms in order to basically design the clock. Like I said, it's quite large, and as far as I can tell, based on these pictures, you have a smartphone app to adjust this thing, which is interesting. I don't know. I mean, in the perfect world, this thing would even work in a way that, yeah, basically the smartphone picks up the time, the smartphone app from the smartphone itself, and is then automatically putting this in the right position. This would be perfect, but I've actually no idea, because for that, the smartphone app, of course, needs to know where currently the clock is, right? Because it's a Technic set. It's not that precise. They basically have to know, okay, I have to run the motor for 3 seconds to put in the right position. I don't know how good this works, or if this is an entirely manual thing. You just have a couple of sliders in the smartphone app. But the general idea is quite cool. I think, to basically navigate this clock using this smartphone app. And I think if you're into Technic and into clocks, this may be for you. With that, moving on to the oil well 17087. This again is a motorized thing of an oil well. I mean, I don't know it is for other regions of the world. At least I was grown up in northern Germany, and we had actually in our village a small oil field where they had 3 of these, I think, or maybe 2. So I remember these from my childhood, but I think they're also quite well known from, I don't know, I think I've seen pictures once for somewhere in the southern parts of the United States, like in Texas, I think they have used these as well. I mean, the ones that we had were like dark green, I guess, to better fit with the landscape, but I'm pretty sure orange is fine as well. This thing has 840 pieces, system built, like I said, has a motor included. For this thing to run, and you can basically buy this one in Asia starting from 58 to 60 bucks. Then moving on to another excavator by Mould King 17076. So this one, as far as I can tell, is entirely manual. It's like one of these entry Technic sets, similar to what Lego is doing. It has 840 pieces. Gonna cost you somewhere starting from $40 US. And yeah, here you go, small excavator. And I guess it's more designed it's like an entry set, right? But it looks fun, actually. And then last but not least, the truck mounted crane transport vehicle 19016. I'm not 100% sure at this point in time if this is entirely correct when it comes to the name, but this thing has 6,767 pieces. It comes with electronics, and it's not a small set, 8 by 12 by 24 inches almost. Price is starting from $260 US. Similar thing, you have a very large Technic vehicle, and you have a lot of pneumatics around the crane as well. Let me see. Here we have an overview of the electronic components, similar to the demolition thing that we talked about before. 2 battery boxes, 5 servos, and 6 motors. And if you look here at the pneumatic cylinders, you have 8 of them again. So that's, again, a ton of functionality. Those of you who love this stuff, this may be exactly for you. Last but not least, BlueBrixx/Panlos. BlueBrixx is kind of the kids line of Panlos. 881105 Taddy's Milk Tea Shop, 1,601 pieces. We have built a couple of those. I'm pretty sure we have published a few of these reviews on our site, for instance, on Teddy's Coffee Shop. So this is now the Milk Tea Shop. Maybe we should call it not Teddy, but Teddy's, right? Let's do it like this. No, that was wrong. Not sure if that's correct, but this is what we use for the Detective Society, so we should do this here as well. So this has, I guess it's very similar to the Detective Society, for instance. However, it is entirely pink, which is quite amazing. For those of you who are really into this, what I can say, or just as a quick sum up, again, please check out the reviews. Just search for Panlos in our on merlinsbricks.com/articles. Or like I just shown you, you can also go there through navigation. So what I recall is, first of all, Panlos is making really first-class bricks. I think next to BlueBrixx, they are some of the best that you can buy from China, in my personal experience. Kata is very good as well as Cumin/Enlighten/Keyplay. But what they also do is a ton of pad printing. Usually it's like a mix. They also have stickers. I think if I recall correctly, stickers are especially used if you go cross pieces. But they also have usually, at least in my experience, a ton of pad printed pieces as well, which is really amazing. And then, they have their genuine figures for the teddies, which is quite amazing. But it's up to scale for Lego minifigures, I would argue as well. So if you want to put this in your, in quotes, Lego city, this may go as well. So definitely a set I'm actually interested in. Maybe we'll publish a review on this one as well. I really like this stuff. If you're generally interested in these high quality in-brick sets, just check them out here. They have a ton of these teddy sets, a ton also of Kumamon sets, all in very similar when it comes to scale. I made a mistake actually. The Detective Society is Kumamon, and the bakery was Teddy's. Anyhow, I think we have built the Seaside Convenience Store as well as the bakery. With that, moving on to two reading recommendations. I did build the Camino training facility 40765. This was basically the gift with purchase for the last May the 4th operation. I mean, this is behind us, but some of you may still think, hey, am I going to buy this on the secondary market? Or you have it and you are still not sure, should you open the box? So we have a genuine, authentic review. This has not been provided to us by Lego. We have built it, bought it ourselves, as we do with all the Lego sets. And here you go. We looked into this review, also gave you a little bit of context because especially the Enforcer, this ship in quotes, may be not familiar to everyone. Actually, you could very briefly see it in the second movie. But yeah, we looked into the set. I mean, of course, the highlight is a minifigure, which is very high quality. In fact, I mean, if you compare these clone cadets to their brother, Boba Fett, actually there's quite a quality difference there. These free of charge, in quotes, minifigures are actually a lot better than Boba Fett is, which is very unfortunate. But let's not complain. Pretty cool minifigures. We, of course, looked into also the reference and how authentic these figures are. And yes, actually, Lego did a pretty good job. Looked also into the ship, which is a Caminoan design. So yeah, here you go. If you're interested in our assessment, you may want to check this out, as you may want to do our review of Revenge of the Sith, Heroes and Villains 40796, the new, in quotes, May the 4th Brickheads pack. So Lego has done this for the third time now. So I think they did first the sixth movie, then the first, and now the third, if I remember correctly, or have the order correctly in mind. However, for whatever reason, they decided also to put Palpatine in his Emperor look in there. I mean, yes, technically at the end of the third movie, my apologies, he has this look already, like, you know, the black robes and everything. However, you also have like his Force lightning in his hands, and when he used that, of course, was when he had the fight with Mace Windu, who is also in the set. And at this point in time, he was still the Chancellor and had his Chancellor look and feel. So it feels a bit weird. It feels like, hey, we made this prequel set, but we still would like to address the original series audience. So we put Palpatine in his Emperor look, which is okay. I mean, they can make an Emperor brickhead, but in this set, I would have liked to see him as Palpatine, as the Chancellor, because we're running out of options. They have not yet made this set for the second movie. So my hope is, of course, that this is what they keep. You know, they want to have Palpatine as a reserve for this set that may come a few years from now. So that's my hope, because I would really like to have Palpatine as a Chancellor. But here you have him now, like in his Emperor look, in quotes. In general, my assessment is that especially General Grievous is an amazing brickhead, some of the coolest brickheads that they have ever made. I mean, it's an interesting figure, right? An interesting design, doing this kind of spidery android thingy as a brickhead is, of course, quite a challenge, and I think they really mastered it. It's amazing. Padme is cool. Anakin is also quite cool. But of course, Mace Windu is a bit problematic because, you know, he's a bold character. So that, of course, is always a bit boring as a brickhead. And I think they missed the opportunity to do his chest, his clothes, if you will, brick build instead of a printed pieces, because they have done a brick build in the past. They did this with Obi-Wan, which I think personally is always to prefer. So yeah, he's a bit boring, and like I said, I really don't like that they missed the opportunity to put Palpatine in as the Chancellor. Anyhow, if you're interested, merlinsbricks.com/articles, or just click the articles button, and then you get all our assessments here, or reviews, basically. With that, we're moving on to MOCs of the week, and here we have first Treebeard as an alternate build from the bonsai tree, so from the Lego set, which is an amazing idea, because I'm pretty sure a lot of folks have these bonsai tree running around, which is an amazing set on itself, so I definitely recommend to buy it. It's one of the coolest Lego sets, from my point of view, that ever made, and it was kind of the starting point for the botanical collection. And it was an amazing set. It already has kind of a 2-in-1 function, because you can switch between the green foliage and the kind of cherry blossom thing. So after maybe a year or two of switching these two around, you may be a bit bored and say, hey, let's go for Treebeard, the end. And here you can, and you can even combine it with minifigures like it's shown here, like put Merry and Pippin on top, which is amazing. And I think this could even be a great extension to Rivendell. So if you own the set, this may be perfect to put this on the side. And if you don't have the bonsai tree yet, this may be a good idea to, buy this set, have a lot of fun with the bonsai itself, then switch to Treebeard, switching back. Venice Dream, the designer's asking for €4, are definitely worth it in my opinion. The other thing that I really like here is the Dune Spice Harvester, 8,613 pieces. I think this is from the new Amazon. No, is it an Amazon production? It was exclusive on Amazon, right? Anyhow, the new movies, the new Dune series, this is their Spice Harvester design there. It's not from the game. It's not from the old movie, like was from the 80s, right? Late 80s movie, but actually from the new ones. And yeah, it's a pretty cool design. I mean, as always, if you have a vehicle with that many pieces, the question is how robust is this thing going to be? But I think because it's such a blocky, shoebox-like design, I'm pretty sure it should be robust. If Sarah Regis, the designer, has not messed this up, and it looks really, really cool. A lot of greebling, a lot of details. In theory, you should even be able to run it, right? I mean, put some motors in there. Should be some fun. Then we're moving on to the Death Star Hangar by Sikidon. Pretty sure I pronounced this entirely wrong. 448 pieces. Why another hangar? Because we now have the new polybag. So this is the polybag also that Lego gave out as a gift with purchase during May the 1st. So I'm pretty sure a lot of folks have this now. And I think this hangar idea is just amazing. It's in the format of the Star Wars dioramas, which Lego has not released for quite a while. So yeah, this might be an amazing extension. It's beautifully done. Really like also the all the work on the floor with these white arrows. Looks really, really cool. And maybe because very often, at least that's for me, I'm not really a collector of these polybag microbit thingies. And so this is so you may be in the one of those folks who have one of those and don't really know what to do with it. In fact, that's the case. I think I have 2 of these and I don't really know what to do with them. I guess usually I would put just the parts in my collection and be done with it. But this may be an amazing way to, put this on your shelf together with your other dioramas. Great idea. The designer's asking for $3 US. With that, moving on to another modification of the U-Wing. Of course, this was predictable that a lot of folks would work on this, simply because I think Lego really messed the U-Wing a little bit up. It's smaller than the previous version. It's not as accurate as the previous version. It definitely does not have enough space for minifigures in so many ways. So yeah, not really a big fan of this design. So I think what Query's Workshop has done here is create a modification. And as far as I know, you don't need any extra pieces. I think the designer wrote this somewhere here. I'm not really 100% sure if you need additional pieces, but definitely looks a lot more accurate. Yeah, I guess you will need additional pieces. It is bigger as well. But yeah, I think that is exactly the modification that the design needed to get it more accurate. And yeah, the alternative is, of course, you could go for the old set, the Rogue One set, which is actually, from my point of view, a lot better than the new one. I have them both. But I think with this modification, you should have a lot of fun. Of course, we want a UCS U-Wing by Lego, right? We want that. Lego, do it. Just go for it. Rogue One is an amazing movie, and Andor is even better. So let's do a UCS set for this one. You have done the Razor Crest. You can do it. Anyhow, $8 US if you want to go in between with 749 pieces. Then, of course, I mean, I've talked about these before. Rebel Neely is still on his conquest to make a Riven. I don't know, what was the set, even the Shire it was called, right? Also in the English version. Which was, of course, it was backend. It was never the Shire. But anyhow, I mean, I did review this set, and I guess a lot of folks, I assume, would agree with me that Lego really messed this up a little bit. They should have done something in the scale and size of Rivendell. And then I think there's a lot of design flaws in there, but I think a huge issue is also that they simply did not have enough pieces available for what they wanted to achieve, right? Doing Bilbo's house, doing the party with such, in quotes, small set. It's not a cheap set, but it's a relatively small set. So Rebel Neely has been working on this a lot with a ton of mock extensions to make this thing bigger, like bigger trees, more trees, and extensions to the building and the backside of the building, and now even this shelf sized thing below. And I think now we are getting somewhere. So I will link this down below for you, but I would say now, if you look at this right now, this is now something that makes sense. Because you have the card with Gandalf, but you have space for the card and not just put it somewhere like what Lego has done with the set. Of course, this is now thousands and thousands of extra pieces, and this is exactly my point. They should have gone for something in this size, and by the way, I would have really preferred also to have the price-performance ratio of Rivendell, and then Backend could have been an amazing set. Anyhow, if you're interested in that, check out Reveneedy's account. Again, I will link everything down below or in the podcast show notes. With that, moving on to a Destroyer Droid, the Replica by Always King, 1,975 pieces, $20 US. That's a bit pricey for a 2,000 piece mark, but I think it's definitely worth it because this is a Droidica now, or a Destroyer, that is basically up to scale with R2-D2 and 3PO, which is amazing. This is such an iconic Lucasfilm design. I always love this droid. You know, whenever these things come in, you know, the Jedi are in trouble. Usually they win because they always win, but in general, droidicas are, you know, some of the... I would say it's always when you watch Clone Wars or one of the movies, you know, when these destroyers are coming in, everybody's in trouble, and I think that is really cool, and they are very amazing, iconic design. The way they travel is just amazing, right? These rolling thingies. It's so much cooler than most of the other droids. So yeah, having them in a proper scale. Lego did this set before, and I guess also this plaque here down below in this mock is from the original set. However, it was a good set, was not bad, but it was a bit small compared to the other droids. With that, moving on to Back to the Future Clock Tower by Brickative, 3,992 pieces, $21. This is an amazing concept, I believe. So first of all, is the house, of course, the clock is there. So if you are into the movie, then, you know, this may be exactly for you. However, what I personally think is even more exciting is that Brickative has designed this at this point in time more like an empty shell. But the idea is that you can open this thing up and then you can design. I think there was even somewhere a picture on this. I can't find it anymore. Let's see if we can find it. There was a picture, I'm pretty sure. It's not there anymore. No, it's down here below. So the idea is that you have basically space for 6 modules. And then you may want to design your own modules of different scenes, maybe of the movie, and put this in there. This is an amazing concept, especially for like a movie or pop culture driven set. Like, hey, let's have different scenes. They don't need to be, you know, in this building. And in fact, I think inside this building, the inside was never shown in the movies. But it's kind of a, you know, a context. It's still an amazing place to put all your favorite scenes in there. As far as I can tell, at this point in time, Brickative itself has only released this shell, not any modules. So I don't know. Maybe they are checking out like how good is this thing running, and maybe if it's successful, a successful mock, then they may add these modules at a later point in time. Anyhow, let's move on to the Catamaran Research Vessel by Eikee, 8,200 pieces, amazing design. It's not based on these Lego city boats in the past, hulls I mean, but actually brick-built hulls, but it's in dark blue, so it should go very well with this city boats as well. But yeah, I mean, what is really cool about this one, if you look at the description, the designer really put in the work to list down all the amazing stuff that is in there. So it's a ton of stuff. It has 8,200 pieces. It's not a small design. You can buy this for 20 quids. Yeah, it has it all. It is also modular. It has interior. From my point of view, a little bit too many studs on the outer deck. But of course, that's easy to fix. Just throw in a couple of tiles as well. Overall, quite an amazing design with a ton of detail. And then last, but surely not least, is the Overground Station by LBox82. 3,519 pieces in this mock. 12 euros unrebrickable. It's amazing. Beautiful design. It has a lot of interior, and I think it's also a good starting point if you want to have something like, an inner city overground train situation going on in your mock, in your diorama, in your build, then I think this could also be a great way to get going. I think, and like I said, it has also on the inside a lot of interior, a lot of charming detail. Really, really, really like this thing. However, 3,500 pieces is not small. However, I think it feels like more, right? I don't know how you feel, but 3,500. There's some modulars who have 3,500 pieces, and this thing looks bigger, feels bigger. But I guess the brick count is accurate. 12 euros for this MOC. With that, we are done with the show for this week. I hope you liked the show. As always, supporting the site, supporting the channel is highly appreciated. Wherever you listen to this, hear this, rate, comment, like, follow, subscribe. It's quite different on every platform, but all of it is highly appreciated. With that, thanks for listening. See you next week.